joined now two members of the Freedom Caucus, Texas Congressman Gohmert and North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows. I know that Jim Jordan and Dave Brat have been very critical of the bill. It's 123 pages. I got an outline of these things. I think the first thing we've got to say is this bill is going to have amendments, correct? So we all agree that this bill is going to change. Congressman Meadows?
I sure hope so.
Well, tell us what your major criticisms are.
You know,
well,
I think...
okay.
Mark?
Go ahead, Mark.
I think, Sean, probably the biggest thing that I see is certainly we're making progress, and I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that some of the taxes that were in the initial version have been eliminated, and so we can applaud that.
The Cadillac tax,
really, when we're
for example?
Exactly, but we don't really get rid of the Cadillac tax altogether. It's still in there. It just comes back in 8 years. And so we really need to look at some amendments to make sure that we get rid of the taxes. We put something on President Obama's desk just a few months ago, and to suggest that what we put on President Trump's desk, you know, sets a new entitlement, keeps some taxes, doesn't repeal all of ObamaCare. We've got to do better, and hopefully with some amendments we can do that.
Well, let me ask specifically about it doesn't repeal completely, because I asked a lot of people about this today, and some people are saying they should pass the 2015 bill, which would be a complete repeal, and then come in with the replacement. And then they say because they're using reconciliation, which is the means by which it was passed, that they have to do it because you only need 51 votes in the Senate versus 60. Any merit to that argument?
I mean, certainly when you look at the reconciliation process and you look at 51 votes, that is one of the hurdles that we have. But,
in the Senate,
you know,
yeah.
This doesn't even go as far as we went in 2015 to repeal, you know, all the Medicaid expansion. It still keeps that. And so as we're looking at that, we've got to find that sweet spot. One of the concerns I have, the biggest concern I have, will it lower health care costs and premiums to those people that I serve and that Louis serves, and really to the Americans that are watching tonight? Will it actually lower health care costs?
Louis?
And until we get that answer, we've got to hold out judgment.
Health savings accounts are a part of it. Are there also, for example, there's this guy in Wichita, Kansas that I often have on my radio show, Josh Umber with Atlas Medical. He created a cooperative in his city where you get all the medical care unlimited, $50 a month as an adult, $10 a month as a child. He negotiates directly with pharmaceutical companies. He brings the 90% of the cost that goes away. And a lot of good things have happened. For example, there are good things in this bill. For example, they're blocking funds from abortion providers, Planned Parenthood, for example. You are upset with what parts?
Well, like Mark mentioned, we left the Cadillac tax in there. It just comes back. But then it creates a new entitlement program, and I've already heard from some constituents upset about, you're creating another entitlement program. We're calling it tax credits that we actually send people checks. And I guess it's another way to do the subsidy. But another concern is...
So what would be the antidote to that? Louis, what would you prefer?
Well, I'd prefer that we bring the prices down adequately so that more people can get health insurance. But, you know, you talk about these entrepreneurial ways of getting insurance. If we don't repeal the McCarran-Ferguson exemption from antitrust, then these brilliant entrepreneurial, you know, other new plans, they're going to be shut out. So we've got to get that done, and it needs to be done separately. But another thing, we are going to force citizens, it looks like, to end up paying for people's health care that are illegally here. We put in here we're going to check their ID to get insurance, but not to get health care.
We know the left's arguments. They're predictable. Every election season, Republicans are racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic. All right. So they're going to say, what about the poor people that can't afford any health care? What are we going to do with that?
Well, they're going to get that through the states.
Mark?
Yeah, Sean, we really do need to look at the safety net, and when we're there, when we're really looking at that Medicaid expansion part of it, we've got to make sure that we're there. This goes beyond that, and I think the other aspect of that, you mentioned health savings account. One of the amendments I hope that the President supports, and certainly that we'll be offering, is really to look to expand the use of health savings account like Dr. Rand Paul has talked about.
I like that idea a lot.
Even though there's a provision in there, it makes it tough.
So it's not in there as completely as you'd want it? Because that surprises me.
Well, it's not
That's
in
right,
there in
and that's
terms
the
of
cure.
any of the subsidies,
cure.
Sean, that go into it actually can't go to funding the health savings account. They actually have to go to purchase insurance. If you have that flexibility where you can actually put it in a health savings account, give actually patients more control over their dollars,
I've got to let you guys
then ultimately it helps.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you know what
and
I'd like to do?
And it puts a cap on how much you can put in health savings account. We need to get rid of that, and we shouldn't be penalizing states that didn't expand Medicaid.
I may come down to Washington and try and get a group of you guys on all sides in a room and see if we can't do an hour and let the American people hear every detail of this so it doesn't become like you got to pass it to find out what's in it, which, by the way, to their credit, they released the bill. All right, thank you both for being with us.
I agree
with that.
We got time.
All right, and it will be